wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
You're listening to A Quirky Journey, the Healthy Family Podcast with your hosts Jo Whitten and Leah Follett. Welcome to A Quirky Journey. Join us as we share our family's journeys to good health. You'll find plenty of inspiration, tips and recipe ideas, as well as stories from everyday people who've struggled and overcome health problems and diet challenges in their own families. I'm Jo Whitten, author of the blog and book Quirky Cooking, and I'm here with my friend and co-host Leah Follett. Hi, Leah.
G'day, how are you?
Good. And
Brilliant.
Today we also have a special guest named Kristen Morrison, who's a good friend of mine, and she is the author of the book Naturally Better, and she's the co-founder of the Grow Foundation, and we can't wait to share her story. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you, girls. What an honour.
We're so excited to hear your story and share it with everybody because it's absolutely amazing what you've been doing. So I think the news definitely needs to get out there more.
Yeah, and I struggled, trying to find information on Facebook, and I'm trying to what's this story? What's the background? Because Jo's like, oh, yeah, we're going to talk to this person, and she does this. And I'm like, okay. So I've been to the website, and I've absorbed all the information I can get from there, and I really wanted to read the book. But, I'm like, oh, damn it, I just want to read the forward in the first couple of pages.
So sorry, I
I have to send you one.
Yeah, chucked you into this straight away and didn't give you enough warning to read the book first.
No, I wouldn't have time to, but it's just looking at, I've absorbed what I can and I'm intrigued. So hurry up and let's get on with it.
Yeah, Kristen will explain it anyway.
Okay, cool.
Let me just say we're going to talk about, Kristen's going to share with us her personal journey of how she's worked at healing her family and why she follows a natural lifestyle approach to parenting. And she's going to talk about her approach to healing children with neurological challenges. Yes. So, Kristen, if you could maybe start a little bit at the beginning and give us your story first, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So I have two daughters who are teenagers now, and I have grown up in a family that was very natural therapy minded. I had two beautiful home births, and my kids were drug free, and every time there was something wrong with them, we went to the naturopath, and that was just, the status quo for our family. And then when I had my third child, another home birth, all beautiful, and then he arrived and we discovered that he had Down syndrome, which, because I hadn't had, I probably should have, but I hadn't had the intrusive testing because I was a bit older. I didn't know. We had no idea. Yeah. And anyway, so he was fairly healthy for a child with Down syndrome, but nonetheless there was this situation. Yeah. And so I did what I thought was the sensible thing to do, and went to see my GP expecting that he was going to give me some kind of catalogue or some kind of brochure for a place that might give me advice on what to do with a child with clearly some kind of, I didn't even know what neurology was back then. But
sorry, my phone's ringing. I'll just turn that off.
Oh, man, Jo, we were just getting to the good stuff.
Sorry. Gone now. Keep going.
Anyway, so I thought he was going to give me a whole lot of advice for someone in my shoes with my sort of philosophy, but he had nothing. And thankfully, we had the internet because, as my oldest daughter said, if this had happened when she was born, I would have been in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah.
So, my naturopath had no clue. Really no one around us had any tips or help. So
how were you coping with it all, like when you found out that he had Down syndrome and you sort of didn't have the support? How were you coping?
Look, luckily I'm very close to my mum, who was my sounding board. It actually took a week for us to get the diagnosis confirmed, and I tell you, it was hell.
Oh, I bet.
A week from hell, because we weren't sure whether to tell anyone. We weren't sure whether it was going to be a problem.
Yeah.
He didn't have a lot of the features.
Yeah.
So it was inconclusive. Anyway, so when we found out, I was a mess. I was an absolute basket case. I had a business, I had staff. And when I started to do my own research into, once we had the diagnosis confirmed, I started to research and realise that he was going to require complete and utter immersion in some sort of protocol to give him a chance. I knew I had to give up my business, which was a fashion label, and I was, in love with it, and really didn't even have the headspace to sell it. I just dismantled it and walked away from a career and started something which has been a whole lot more satisfying.
And that's what we've heard before, isn't it, Leah?
Oh, yeah.
And my mum kept saying to me, hun, something amazing is going to come out of this. And I kept looking at her through the tears thinking, don't feed me that rubbish.
Yeah.
But it's so true because I basically layered about 8 different therapies and got very lucky in that I happened upon the right information at the right time. Mind you, my mum was Googling, I was Googling, and so it was hours and hours of research went into it, but I did happen to layer things on which got results remarkably quickly, and I could see that if I just gave up everything else and just be there for my kids and my little baby with a problem, that I'd probably get some sort of a result. So, and luckily also, because obviously being on a computer and emailing doctors overseas and having sort of threads from every search I'd ever done, there came a point where Griffin was doing exceptionally well. He had no health issues. Our paediatrician, to spite himself, couldn't find anything wrong with him. The guy who, when I first went to him, I said, look, I'm into natural therapies. I'm going to want to give him supplements. And he said to me, don't waste your money on omega-3s, buy a big TV.
What?
So, yeah. He said, you need to buy, don't waste your money, because if you buy a big TV, it'll give you escape and solace and,
Oh,
I'm shocked. Oh, my gosh.
That's awful.
You're horrifying, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So this same paediatrician, to spite himself, by the time Griffin was 12 months old, was sort of writing letters to my GP, which my GP shared with me. He was saying, well, whatever she's doing, it's working. So people started to talk him up, in our communities, like a sort of friendship group, etc. People started to hear that Griffin was doing really well, and so I started to get emails from strangers saying, oh, my sister's just had a baby with Down syndrome, or, whatever, do you have something that could help? And because I had an electronic sort of footprint of everywhere I'd been, I started to put together some sort of a document to share. And then by the time he was 3.5, I thought, no, I have to publish a book, because he doesn't even look like a child with Downs. He was walking, he was talking, he was social. Really, he was reading when he was 2. He was able to read books.
What?
And I don't mean pick up a novel and read it out loud, but he could actually indicate that he could recognise words.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, early intervention. I completely missed the boat on that. Because I had my head stuck in the sand. I had no idea. He was my firstborn, so I missed everything, and no one wanted to tell me that there was something slightly different about my child. And that's fair enough, and I probably wouldn't have listened to them anyway. But everyone I've spoken to, and even the school systems, they're throwing funding for early intervention and extra help and this, and just amazing that you've been able to do that.
Yeah, well, the thing is too, Leah, that with Down syndrome there are physical traits which give it away, and so a lot of people think that means that we're the lucky ones because you can intervene from birth, whereas children who don't present with any sort of autistic symptoms until they're 2 or 3 or whatever, you might have been able to intervene earlier had you had that tip off.
What sort of physical symptoms? I haven't ever coached anyone have had anyone in my community that has Downs. What makes Downs different to other than what we see? Is there anything internally that's different, or, in that biomedical sphere that you can share?
There are, if you look at the symptoms that are typical of an adult with Down syndrome, going back to, documentations from the 50s, that this horrible word, mental retardation, right? So that's like the absolute Achilles. All these parents with diagnosis, that's the thing you fear the most. My personal view is, and from everything I've read, if a child is born with practically no nasal bridge because of the shape of the skull of a baby with Down syndrome, they really rarely have much of a nasal bridge. And as the skull grows, there's this physical obstruction to airflow to the brain.
Okay.
And so if you can get in there and with osteopathy, you can build a nasal bridge, you can help the skull to grow and develop the way that nature intended. And if you can also, flood the body with good nutrition and supplements and keep the toxins away, then there's more of flow of oxygen to the brain. Of course, the brain grows more typically, and that sort of mental fallout is not such a big issue, potentially.
All right, I need to give you a visual right now. Have you ever seen Alice in Wonderland? The cartoon, the Disney cartoon.
Yeah.
You know the Cheshire Cat, the pink and purple thing with the big stupid grin? That's me right now. I'm sitting here with a grin ear to ear.
I knew you would
and
be.
I'm just like, my eyes are going crazy. And that's seriously impressive that you can do that. Like osteopathy is something that we used and craniosacral stuff with William and, with reflux and breastfeeding issues and all that other stuff. But to hear you say something, that's just profound. I'm so excited.
It is.
I'm so excited.
And these osteopaths that we found who comment on having children with autism who their behaviours change just from having osteo and cranio work, it is profound. I mean, the pressures on the head affect everything.
Uh-huh. Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And there's about, I think it's about 15 pages of full colour photos in the middle of my book. And there's a series of 6 photos of Griffin in profile because I was in documentation mode and would take a photo religiously every 30 days.
That's so good that you did that.
Well, because I wanted to see for myself that what I was doing was making a difference,
Yeah.
She was a proud mama.
Yeah.
I was. Yeah. But also I think on some level I knew that at some point this was going to be important for somebody else. But anyway, when you look at these photos of Griff from birth to age 3 and his nasal bridge just gradually coming out more and more, it's amazing. And that's just osteo.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very exciting. And I find it exciting to meet people like you with children who've recovered and in recovery, and it's just so powerful. And how wonderful is the internet that we get to find each other.
Yes, exactly.
I know. And their diagnosis ends up being their quirk or the thing that makes them interesting. It's not that defines them, and it's not the label that they've got. It sort of starts to disappear the harder you work and the more different therapies you bring in. It just changes the child.
Yeah,
it really does.
That's right.
So what happened next?
Well, so I published my book and it was pretty sort of home jobby. I did it on Microsoft Word and,
Oh, good on you. So good.
I was really only writing it to share amongst,
Sort of like me with my blog. It's like when people keep asking, you go, well, I've got to do something to share it with them, and this is the easiest way. And it's amazing what's come from it.
Yes, that's right. I know.
I'm sure you must have helped so many people with it.
Well, it's pretty amazing. So what happened was I published it and then got some very constructive criticism to say it looks terrible. And for the message, you really need to do it properly. So I did it properly, and I was very fortunate because I got an endorsement for the cover from Deborah Lee and Hugh Jackman, which was a bit of a coup.
Can you explain who that is? Because some of us like me might not know.
So Hugh Jackman is Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
Jo, know who that is.
You live in far north Queensland, but that's not like another galaxy.
I know, it is a bit of another galaxy up here. I've been told I live in a nursery rhyme.
Pretty much.
Anyway, so, Deborah Lee is hugely, she's a very strong advocate for children, especially adopted children, and a lot of children with Down syndrome are adopted out.
Sad.
So I really struck a chord with them, plus their association with the Mind Foundation sort of all resonated. So anyway, so I got this wonderful endorsement from them, and then I just sent it out to a whole lot of paediatricians and experts all over the world and got some fantastic testimonials, and the book has now sold in about 38 countries. I get emails every week from Finland and, parts of America and all over the place from parents saying, just want you to know I read it and now my child's walking, or now my child can see, or...
Wow, that just must be such an amazing feeling.
It is. It really is. And, it's funny because I think this often. I mean, I wrote that book 3 or 4 years ago, and at the time it was cathartic. I cried, I laughed, I went away for 4 days and put it together, and it was a really emotional journey.
4 days?
Well, I kind of had all this email and text, and I just downloaded everything and put it all out in a chronological line through the hotel room.
That's amazing.
And but yeah, it was amazing as an experience for me to get away and do that, and then to sort of put the photos etc. through. But it's kept alive now through my readers, and it's enormously satisfying, and it's. I think one of the biggest challenges is that it's not just for children with Downs, as you girls would know very well, the sort of stuff that you do, that, this kind of approach is what all of us need, really.
Yeah.
But the thing with Down syndrome is there is such a catalogue of things that can go wrong, and there's a couple of pages in my book which is basically like the menu of what was being presented to me. Every blog, every website I read, it was like, you can expect this, 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 and this, and they're all horrific. But if you break each one of them down and go, okay, well, that one, you can help that with osteo. That one you can help with neurological exercises which are targeting different parts of the brain and can help to make the movement symmetrical rather than favouring one side. Or, you break it all down into actual individual symptoms and not look at it as a set that's going to happen no matter what you do.
Oh, right. So it's that little by little thing again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Breaking things
down.
So
initially, sorry?
No, keep going.
Yeah, so initially the book was very much getting into the hands of parents of children with Downs, but now it's much more accepted, by others whose children may or may not even have problems. It's just, I tried to explain, what you were saying earlier, Leah, about science, and we're just lay people who happen to find ourselves in these situations where we're forced to learn a whole lot of stuff that we probably never would have before. And it is a hell of a learning curve. So I tried to keep my language really simple and explain neurology and nutrition and everything so that it was easy for a new mum who's probably wiping back the tears and also trying to get all the information at the same time.
Yeah, well, that was me. I was, went to these conferences and I didn't understand what the doctors were saying. I went to my appointments and I didn't understand what, this biomedical approach was and what the testing was. I had no idea. So I had to go and study first year Bachelor of, nutrition and science to be able to understand that, and then I pulled myself out. But I had to do that in order to understand where I was going and what I needed to do. Yeah. It was just, it was a huge thing.
And that's why people like you two are so important in this kind of thing, to help the mums bridge that gap between the doctor and, being able to understand what they're even talking about, because it must be so overwhelming.
Utterly. On every level. And then, on top of all that, you've got to deal with your mum's reaction or your cousin's reaction or your husband's lack of reaction or,
Yes, yeah.
And your kids, the way they're getting feedback from their friends at school about what's wrong with your brother and, just having to deal with all that too. So.
Yeah. Well, I just couldn't get out of my own way when we were first diagnosed. It was like we didn't have a very supportive I suppose, psychologist that was helping us. She was just like, moderate autism. Yeah, he probably, and I asked, well, what does that mean? Because my idea of what autism was Gilbert Grape or, looking at those more stylized things, Rain Man, and that's what I had in my sphere. I had that TV version of what autism was. And then she's saying, well, William probably won't be able to drive a car and he won't be able to do this and do that. And that's, for at least 6 months, I then kid gloved him and just went, no, he's incapable of doing anything. This is all we've got to hope for the future. And it wasn't until I had to get out of my own way. And that was my biggest hurdle, was I was in the mummy guilt thing and, the self-pity thing. And I wasn't actually proactive for that first 6 months. It was me regrouping. Yeah. And, I was busy the whole time. I didn't sit still. I just, fluffed around the house and did whatever. But I was just hopeless. Yeah. That turnaround, that picked me up and turned me around from smack, here's a diagnosis, to, well, what am I going to do, was 6 months. Yeah. How long did it take you to get hold of things and get going? Because you did it fairly quickly.
Yes. Well, but again, that's because there were all sorts of reasons, but I think I'm a little bit manic.
Okay. So So's Leah.
You can. I'm manic, but I'm not resilient.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah. I'm not impervious. Obviously, you are, Kristen.
No. I think Hey?
Sorry, I was just going to say, I'm interested to know, what was it like? Like, I was fairly lucky in the sense that I had resources in my community. I was in Brisbane at the time. There were conferences coming. There was doctors everywhere. You know, like I had my pick between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and I had facilities and services. Did you have that as far as an education thing to field out to, and you had lots of practitioners that you knew?
Not at all.
Okay, so you had to start that. You had to start your healthcare thing from scratch.
Absolutely, because, you know, autism, there's quite a lot going on in the autism community. And even though a lot of that is applicable to Down syndrome, most of the people in the autism community don't really know much about it. So, no, there certainly wasn't something to tap into. I just spent a lot of time on the phone finding who seemed to be the best qualified to help with the approach I wanted to take, and those practitioners are now busy all the time, and their waiting rooms are, you know, I know most of the people in their waiting rooms.
Wow, that's so good.
And even if I don't know them, I'll walk in there and they go, "Oh, we're here because of you." And I'm not, you know, I'm very humble about this. But
she's very humble. She doesn't even hardly sell her books because she doesn't put them in a shop. No, she has now.
Well, she's just offered to post me one. So
she's always giving them away.
Giving it away. I love it.
You know, but that's how you feel, isn't it?
It is. You just want to help everybody with it.
Oh, my God. She's so mean.
She's so gorgeous. Both of you.
Oh dear.
Bit mushy. Mushy.
Yeah, it's like that, you know. It's kind of being laid bare, and you find people on the same journey and you feel an incredible connection, don't you?
You do.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
I've got people on Facebook that I'm, you know, call extremely dear friends. I wouldn't know them if I passed them in the street. I know everything about their families and their kids and every illness they've ever had. But
how do these people contact you?
I took my phone number off the website a couple of years ago.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
have them turning up at your door.
I'm staring dinner and I get a call from a parent. I'll be there an hour and a half later. No, look, mostly it's email.
Yeah,
messages on the
through your website.
Yeah, but look, to be honest, there are a number of Down syndrome communities where they don't even talk to each other anymore. They talk amongst each other and find out information about Griffins and help each other with it, you know, because it's a few years down the track now. So a lot of it's sort of become mainstream in its own setting.
You need to explain exactly what Grow Foundation is and does. That would be good.
Yeah, so when about 10 months after I published the book, I met a mutual friend who just was enamoured by the story, and she offered to hold a fundraising event for our family because these things all cost money, and I, you know, down tooled on my company and published the book, and, you know, anyway, so she offered to hold a fundraiser for us personally, and then when she told me she wanted to hire a mansion and she wanted to, you know, like silent auctions, it was a big shebang, and I said, look, you know, why help just me when we could just make that into a foundation launch and we could actually help lots of other parents, and I'll sell some books, whatever, I'll benefit at some point. But, you know, that way we can kind of, you know, help lots of people. So bless her heart, she and her husband jumped on board and we started Grow, and we rented that mansion and we had our launch event, and we now, this is the third year running, we now bring the Institutes, which is an organisation in Philadelphia that I found, who we bring them out here every year now to train Australian parents. So basically, the Institutes, they're called the Institutes of the Achievement of Human Potential, and they are an extraordinary group that was founded in the 50s. They travel the world training parents in work they can do at home in a sort of a homeschooling kind of setting, with the specific goal of rehabilitating children neurologically. So it's wild. They teach you how to teach your child to read, to do maths, and when I say that Griffin could read at 2, that wasn't because I wanted to have this extraordinarily smart child. It was because I understood the Institute's approach, which was that if you give masses of visual stimulation, you're going to boost the visual pathway, which in turn means that they'll be able to see, hopefully without glasses.
Wow.
And Griffin doesn't wear glasses and doesn't have any visual problems. A lot of kids have spatial issues. A lot of children with Down syndrome have spatial issues. They have trouble going up and down stairs because of their depth perception. And all these things, you know, come back to the visual pathway. So the institutes give you exercises you can do apart from the reading. There's other like monkey bars and things that you do which are fun, and they might take 8 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But the result is that you start to put in what they describe as neurological organisation. So instead of so the way that what they do when they do this week-long course, which we're holding again here next month, here in Melbourne, what they do is they explain how to locate where in the brain the child's issue is, therefore what part of the brain is affected by their situation, whether it's because they've had a blow to the head or Down syndrome or whatever it is, something has caused a problem in the brain. They help you to locate it, and then they help you to work out how severe it is, and then they help you to work out a program which targets that area.
Right.
Specifically. So for Griffin, that meant we had to do a lot of exercises which promoted symmetrical movement. And, you know, he went from doing the bum scoot, not being able to crawl at all, to crawling in perfect symmetry on all fours. And, you know, a lot of hippies from the 70s were into that. But, you know, now it's an interesting fact. But if you look at an adult who can't crawl symmetrically, chances are there's some kind of, there has been some kind of issue with learning.
Yeah.
And so for a child, if you can locate that problem when they're little, even up until, you know, their late teens, you can go back and do this sort of symmetrical movement and repair.
Wow.
We do sort of kinesiology-based stuff, exercises before we actually start our schoolwork. So, you know, like we are crossing the left and right, you know, the parallel down the middle, line down the middle, and we're doing the crawling, and then we're doing the marching, and we're, you know, opposite arm, opposite knee, and we're looking up to the right and looking up to the left and turning those pathways on before we actually sit down and do the schoolwork. And that has made a huge difference just to preparing and getting everything integrated before we start our schoolwork.
Yeah.
Oh, same thing. Isn't it crazy? I'm listening to your story and I'm sitting there thinking, yep, I do that. I just call it something different, but it's the same thing.
That's right. I know. Well, the thing for Griff was, you know, I found all these different therapies, and then it wasn't until he was about 10 months old that I heard about the institutes, and they pretty much embrace everything else that I had done, and they almost operate like a personal trainer. Right. You know, they coach you in what to do next and what to take out of the diet, which supplements to add in. You know, so it's
that's so helpful.
I know. So it's kind of like having your hand held, plus you get this huge folder full of information that you can go back and refer to. So, yes, I know.
I want to go and do their practitioner training. I want to add that to my health coaching. I want to add that to my wellness thing. That'd be amazing.
So do they have practitioners in Australia?
No, they don't. And well, look, you know, the dream for Grow eventually would be that we have set up a centre over here for them. But, you know, it's all about funding, and we're all busy people and have businesses and other responsibilities. So it's a case of how much we can do. But no, at the moment, no, they don't have practitioners. I mean, they have, through my book and my connections, and now the parents who are doing the Institute's work over here, there are a lot of very supportive practitioners, and Mind Foundation's actually very supportive too, because you know, they understand approach, very similar.
Yeah
Maybe one day.
Yeah, that would be so good. So it's once a year in Melbourne.
Yeah, and what they do is they train you, and at the end of the week, it's a 5-day course. At the end of the week, you go home with a program that you can do with your child.
Wow.
Sun up till sundown every day of the week. And you couldn't afford to pay a therapist to do all that work.
No.
But you know how to do it yourself, and then you know what to add in when things, you know, improve and other things appear. And
So you said the courses are week long?
Yes.
It is. And how much is that, can I just ask?
It's $1,100 for one parent or $1,800 for two, and then there's a $600 per person levy that goes towards the travel. But just to put it in context, when my husband went to Philadelphia to do this course, it cost us $10,000. And when I went to Singapore, it cost us $6,000. But now, a couple can do it here for less than $3,000. And that's because
amazing.
So Grow Foundation raises funds, and then we offset the cost to keep it as low as we can for Australian parents. And Jo, your lovely friend Veronica, her happily made monkeys, oh my God, they're just the most beautiful little knitted toys that raise funds for Cambodian women. And we now sell them as a fundraiser for Grow Foundation.
Oh, that's perfect. And they're made, they're the ones that are made by the Cambodian women, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
I know. That's perfect because monkey bars are a huge part of do on this program. So
that's so good that you've managed to get the price down so much. I was thinking that's so worth it.
Look, it is. They haven't put the price up in years, and honestly, these guys work their butts off.
Yeah.
And they're kicking some major goals. They've joined forces with the Novak Djokovic Foundation now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're really getting the word out in Eastern Europe, and they're very, very popular in Spain.
Okay.
So how old is Griff now?
He's 8.
Okay. So at a mainstream school, or what sort of support have they got in place for him for the classroom?
So he's in a mainstream school in grade 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing pretty well. He's one of the biggest problems we had with Griff, two problems really, was that he'd been home with me full time until the age of 6, and so then going into a classroom where there were 24 other kids and they're all crazy interesting and he just wanted to socialise with them. He had a lot of trouble focusing. So we tried him at Montessori, and that didn't work because the kids are all doing different activities in the classroom. So we took him out of Montessori and put him into mainstream. And the other, which was much better for him because all the kids are doing the same thing at the same time. But the other challenge that he has really is that, the learning style that he's had at home, working one-on-one with someone who's giving him information in tiny bursts, and then you go off and do something physical, and you come back and you do another couple of minutes of academic, and then go off and do some more physical activity. It's quite different, obviously, from sitting in a classroom for 2 hours.
Yes.
So he's overcoming that, and he's getting better and better at, doing what he's told, and he's got a lot of friends. He's extremely popular.
Aww.
And, he loves it. I think I'll probably homeschool him for secondary.
Yep.
And
why is that?
Sorry?
Why is that? Both Leah and I do homeschool, so.
Why is that? Yeah. Look, you're probably one of the reasons, really.
Oh.
You do want to think, well, if she can do it, I could do it. Look, to be honest with you, 6 years at home with a child doing pretty much full-time therapy, pretty much non-stop for 6 years, gets pretty intense.
Oh,
and I really felt like he needed to go off and have another life,
And you probably needed it too.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
It's intense.
It is very intense.
Yeah.
And we are crazy close, and I'm sure we'll always be crazy close. But I just think, look, if he can go out and have this time in primary school, get involved with the community, make lots of friends in the neighbourhood, and then for secondary, I'd look at doing it. I'll be ready by then.
Yeah. And he'll be a lot more independent with his work and stuff by then too.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's good.
So, anyway, no, it's good. It's good. It feels like it's going to be a happy ending. It's still an ongoing thing, I'll probably get back into doing, I will definitely get back into doing some more therapy with him soon, just so we can finish off what we've done. I mean, in my opinion, I think we're probably 90%.
Yeah.
And, I certainly don't think that means that we can't get to 100%, but very soon we'll get back into that.
And can I just ask, I know Leah's interested in this too, I'm sure, what role do you think that organic food or nutrition or however you fed your son
or supplements
how did that all play into it all?
Well,
I should mention that Kristen owns a health food shop that's called, is it Street Organics now? You've changed the name?
It is now, yeah.
Street Organics.
Whereabouts is that?
So we're in Melbourne, and I set it up as a I actually set it up as a co-op to supply.
Yay, we love co-ops.
Yeah, we do.
But I set it up to supply people all over Australia because I was getting emails from people saying, great, now I've got your book, but I live on a sheep station. Where do I get amaranth from?
Yeah, of course, yes.
And so I set it up so that I could basically ship it all over Australia. And then being the retail individual that I am, I had to open a shop.
Yeah, and it's such a lovely shop and cafe. Yeah. Every time I go to Melbourne, I've got to go there.
Yeah.
Well, where's my invitation? I want to go to Melbourne.
Come on, let's go again.
Let's go. Can we go to the Panna Chocolate Shop as well?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that anywhere near that? I've seen it on Instagram and my head is like,
whoa. Oh, yeah, they're so good.
Okay, so we're going to Street Organic and then we're going to the Panna, and then we've got to pick up the book.
Yes.
I'm set. Next holiday, brilliant. Books.
She's got it all worked.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But
okay,
yes,
so
sorry, keep going
suburb?
about your...
Which suburb?
In Malvern.
Straight, like right in Melbourne.
Malvern.
No, Malvern.
Malvern. Oh.
Yeah.
Malvern.
Very confusing.
Okay. Cool. Right, I'll have to Google that.
So as far as what role it played, well, getting back to what I was saying about from the point of view of a child being born who's already neurologically compromised, it was astounding to me that considering how healthy I was and I didn't drink and I was, always good to myself, but a child with Down syndrome is malnourished when they arrive.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's because, getting back to your question, Leah, about physiology, yes, there is a problem with absorption.
Okay.
So I just knew that I had to flood his body with, food that was low in toxins, and so I ate organic food, and he only ever had the best of absolutely everything. And yes, the supplements he started having from about day 3, I think.
Wow.
And that was all to boost immunity because I wasn't going to immunise.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We did some homeopathic immunisation, but I was actually understanding that Griffin was immune compromised and malnourished. I thought I should vaccinate this child because I've got to protect him. But my naturopath said, no, go and read this, and then come back to me and tell me you won't vaccinate this child. So we only did some homeopathic protection for him, which was our choice. That's fine. I stand by it, and he's healthy and never had anything major except a little respiratory problem he had last year. But apart from that, never had a problem. So I'm sure that a lot of that comes from having built a body on organic food and,
Do you ever compromise on the organic? Like if you can't get something, do you abide by the, the clean 15 and the dirty dozen or rule?
Oh, look.
At all? Or obviously having a shop, you have abundance, but, before that?
Yeah, the clean 15. But even then, look, I kind of think I grew up in the country with a mum who gave us brown rice and wholemeal everything. And so every time I went to a birthday party, I absolutely gorged myself on everything that was off the list and made myself horribly sick. Yeah. And so I always thought, well, look, I'm not going to be like that with my kids. They can go to a party and they can eat what they want, and then they can experience how shit they feel afterwards, which happened. And they got sensible of their own accord. And I still think, look, Griffin has fish and chips, and I'll have it grilled. He won't have batter because he's wheat-free, gluten-free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'll let him have some things because I just think, well, I can't keep him too protected. Otherwise, what happens when, he's 15 and he goes out to a party and, he's never experienced artificial colouring.
Yeah.
I need to take a leaf from your book. I'm still back at the whole, so when William was at school, he wrote out one of those brown paper bags and sent it in the tuck shop, and he wanted to order a salad. And they decided that no, he didn't mean a salad, even though he explicitly wrote salad, a salad bowl on his bag. They assumed he needed a salad sandwich, and they fed him bread, white bread with butter, and we don't have dairy and we don't have gluten. Yeah. And he couldn't tie his shoes for a week. So, it affects him. At that time, his gut issues were so vast. Like, he couldn't poo, his skin went funny, like he had all those issues. So he remembers that, and I'm quite happy with that. But for me, I'm still sitting there going, and because I'm so well read in those things, the mummy in me goes to panic station first. So I need to change that for myself, because now I think the kids are, they scrutinise everything. And I try to get them to be, you know, kind, and when they're questioning and when they're refusing or saying no. And because we've had little hiccups along the way, I'm there with you. But at the same time, just, I need to take more of a leaf out of your book and just, you know, let be and let live and let go, and hopefully it comes back.
Yeah. I might be the same as you, though, if I'd been through GAPS. See, we never had to do GAPS. We did the Institute's diet, which is basically grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, salt-free. You know, it's basically
similar.
Coconut oil, lots of different coloured vegetables. And
sounds very similar.
That's about it. But we didn't go right back to the hardcore GAPS.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that a lot of what we've done has been preventative. And, again, because he arrived with this red flag, I was able to do all that preventative work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, if I'd been through what you girls have been through with the GAPS diet, I might feel more strongly about it. But, look, you know, Griffin's been to some parties. He's so social. He gets invited to so many birthday parties. And it's now gotten to the point where he says, drop me off and I'll see you later. So I just leave him, cross my fingers, and, look, honestly, apart from occasionally maybe he'll get the runs, that's about it.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yeah. So it sounds like his gut is very healthy, really.
We have to be able to talk about poo, don't we?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I love poo. Let's talk about poo. It's not a podcast without poo. I mean,
no, I mean, just about everyone.
Peas, you know, going off, okay, pee, poo, podcast. It all goes together. It just meshes. Let's go there.
Funny.
I don't know, with Down syndrome children, is it usually, do they have a lot of gut issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's all part of it.
You know, a lot of these kids are so constipated.
Oh, really?
It's debilitating in the extreme.
Oh.
And, look, I'll tell you another thing. I know we've spoken a lot about osteopathy in the institutes, but there's another thing, and it is kinesiology based, but that's NATE. And NATE is a fusion of kinesiology and acupuncture. And it was founded by an Indian woman in California. But anyway, it basically targets intolerances and blockages and helps you to eliminate those blockages. And I know that Griffin has had probably 400 NATE treatments.
Wow.
I've done the training now so I can do NATE at home. I can't do it for anyone else, but I've trained to do it to help my family. And it's incredibly beneficial to, you know, boosting, promoting and improving absorption. And so I know that a lot of these gut issues are just because the body's just not able to deal with what's coming down the tube, you know?
Yeah.
And
You're as insane as I am.
She is.
Like, I had to go to uni and study that, but you've just gone one step further, and you're doing, oh, my gosh.
No, it's not madness. It's just, you know.
You've got to be insane when it comes to looking after your kids.
Do you find these people?
I don't know.
They just digging up kindred spirits. I'm loving this.
They're everywhere.
It's very awesome. Very awesome.
It's great because Jo leaves the house. I don't leave the house. So she's got a life outside of her family. I only get to talk to people on podcasts. I'm like the thing that's kept under the stairs.
Oh.
So she goes out and finds these resources and these amazing people and brings them back. And I'm just like, yay, I get to speak to someone, a real person.
Hey, don't worry. I met Kristen online.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, so I have to do more stalking online.
You will. That's where I meet most of my amazing friends. I just meet them online, and then when I go to their city, I go, right, we're getting together.
Yeah.
I've got to start doing that.
Yeah.
So
I'll just start stalking more of your stuff, Jo. I don't even look at your page.
Oh.
I'm not even signed up to your newsletter yet. You have to do that because I keep forgetting.
You probably know it all anyway, Leah.
Oh, do I? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right then. I'm not missing out on anything.
I keep you in touch.
Kristen, do you have a newsletter? Is there something like that we can sign up to that, you know, would give us updated information? Or
just about to arc that up again, actually. I've sort of gone into hiding for a few years because my food business has gone completely ballistic, and I've had to really focus on that, but I'm just about to arc it up again. So the naturallybetterkids.com website, which also needs good overhaul, but it's there. There's lots of success stories on there, and
Are you an amazing web designer and blogger or what?
She does everything. Didn't you know that?
I'm manic.
So you did all that yourself as well?
Yeah.
Oh, good on you.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Do you know what, Jo? For me, therapy is doing something creative.
It is to me as well, definitely.
And that's one of the reasons Instagram has been an absolute revelation for me.
Isn't it wonderful? I love it.
I can go out into my garden with my phone and pictures of water lilies and fish and feel like life's worth living again after the most shitty day.
I'm so glad that I'm not the only one that does that.
Okay, what's the Instagram name? Because I'm going to have to go and stalk you on that too now.
Oh, my best one's Street Organics.
Okay, so just get on there.
Yeah, it's just food and veggies.
That's our favourite thing.
I know. It is. I'll tell you, Jo, my other favourite thing is your green frappuccino.
Oh, yay. Green frappuccino rules.
It does.
Don't tell Leah this because she can't have coffee. She goes a bit psycho.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm stimulant free. You know, like, whatever. I'm stimulant free because I don't need one. I need a sedative.
Oh, do you react to coffee?
There's just I'm more abundant when I have coffee, and
she goes psycho. I tell you,
I'm more efficient.
More abundant.
I'm very busy. I'm very driven, and I start to wear people out.
I understand.
Her husband keeps her away from it. Too funny. Maybe you could have one of those organic decaf type green frappuccinos.
Yeah. Dandy latte. What did you do with that?
Yeah, why don't we do a dandy latte green frappuccino?
Yeah.
Good idea.
Oh, I'm just a bit impressed right now.
Yeah. I think you need to put that on your menu, Kristin.
Yeah, I think so.
Look, if anybody is in the Melbourne area, you need to go to Street Organics because you can go there and have things like almond milk or coconut cream in your coffee, and you can have tell them some of the things on the menu, Kristin. It's so delicious. You can have broth.
Well, yeah, you can.
Do you do broth?
She has broth.
It's true. And, we've one of my most satisfying things that we make in here is we make bucket loads of almond milk and cashew milk. And then we use a cold pressed juicer to make it, and we take all the pulp out of it, and then we use the pulp to make vegan caramel slices and
Yum. Who needs pan of chocolate?
Hey?
I said, who needs pan of chocolate? We'll just go to Street.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm thinking co-op as in, like it's a bag full of nuts and seeds.
No, it's both. Idea. It's everything.
Oh, okay. That just took me to a whole other level. I'm okay. I'm opening up like WebJet or something at the moment. I need to book a flight.
Yes. We'll get some frozen logistics happening. I'll send you a box.
Can you just start a franchise? And
yes,
I'm in Sydney. I'm in Sydney for the next 3 years. So if you could put it at the bottom end of George Street, that'd suit me just fine.
Yeah.
It is on the cards, actually, Leah.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Oh, happy dance, happy dance, happy dance. There's jumping in the kitchen.
And she hasn't even had coffee.
No.
I'm getting the picture now.
Yeah.
Okay, there was some other awesome stuff on the menu. Every time I go to Melbourne and visit Kristin, she sends me away with a care package. It's so cute. And last time I went, I had this hollowed out baby coconut with all this fruit salad and chia and stuff in it, with a little coconut lid on, and I had a dark chocolate with goji berries, all vegan, and I had, what else did I have? All sorts of goodies, broths and almond milk, and she sends me away with this care package. It's so nice.
Yeah.
Salad, amazing salads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly made by my husband now.
That's true.
Salads.
Can I just ask, because I need to ask for the men out there, how is your partner, husband / significant other, like how did he cope through this? Because, I think most of our demographic at the moment is women, but,
we do get a few guys listening.
We do, but, let's champion them. Like, how is this process for him?
Yeah.
Like, where is he at now?
I'll tell you what, the first 12 months, he spent a lot of time away.
Yeah.
For all sorts of reasons, and running away was a big part of it. Because it was, it's much easier for a woman to look at a crisis, cry, and then feel better. But men are a bit different. So
they want to fix things, don't they?
Yeah. So for the first 12 months, he didn't say much and wasn't around much. And now, honestly, he's the biggest kombucha fermenting. He's so
the hippie chef.
Yeah, he is. He's a big hippie chef. And well, he wasn't a chef before, but he's
like a chef.
He's really found himself, you know.
He has.
He's completely pure. He's just done a 10-day lemon detox thing. He's always doing something to make himself feel better, oil pulling or, you know, brushing his teeth with activated charcoal. Or
he sounds like a kindred spirit as well. I'm just thinking, okay, all right, he's on my page.
He was very much the hippie when I met him. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's so good. And so he's very supportive with it all. Obviously.
Extremely supportive. I mean, really, I know a lot of women who are on this path with partners who don't get it, aren't interested, don't support it, and
the widescreen TV type partners.
Yeah, or even just more traditional medical background.
I'm just thinking of what the doctor said, you know, and they'd probably go, let's do that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that's right. And we look at our big screen TV, which doesn't get used very often, and laugh about it often.
Yeah,
it's just,
I bet.
You know. Anyways, no, he's great, and I know that he's a gem, and not a lot of men cope with it as well. But a lot of men read my book. Actually, quite a few women have told me that they've given my book to their husbands to get them on board, and that's helped.
Good. Really
sometimes you don't want to hear it from your wife; you want to hear it from someone else. So
I think that's very usual. It takes them a long time to come round to thinking the way that you do, and it's often because other people have talked to them, not because you have. That's what I've found.
Yeah, that's right. I laugh about your story, Jo, when you said that your husband didn't even know you were famous until he was at work and someone showed him.
I laughed. I thought that was amazing too.
Oh, he came. Yeah, that was only a few months ago. He came home from work and said, "Someone at work said you really should start a Facebook page." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? What do you think I've been doing all this time on Facebook, just chit-chatting to my friends?" No wonder he used to get annoyed with me being on there. I'm like, I've been working.
So funny.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I'm starting to try and use that excuse in my house, Jo. I'm blaming it on you, actually.
Hey.
It's Jo's influence.
I'm
this
working.
is work. What have you done all day? There's no food. The floor hasn't been vacuumed in 2 weeks. What's going on? I've been busy at work.
That's right.
It just doesn't find my house yet. I haven't got a big enough following.
Facebook and writing and blogging and taking photos of food are my job. I can totally get away with it now. Woohoo!
It's just perfect, Jo, isn't it? What you've done, you've created the perfect life.
I know.
Well done, you.
So is there anything else that we should know about Grow Foundation, about the upcoming...
Yes, there is. So we're going to actually host another series of webinars for people who want more information about the Institute.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah. So if you go to the Grow Foundation Facebook page with a big orange circle, you'll know you're there. Mm-hmm. We'll be hosting another round of webinars early in March, just so that we can try and get as many people as we can, because really it's just invaluable, and it's heartbreaking when someone finds out about it and they've just left and they've got to wait another 11 months.
We need to really get the word out, don't we?
It's true. Look, I have to tell you, I hear a lot of amazing stories, but one of the most breathtaking stories was from a mum who took me aside after the first course we did here in Melbourne, and she said, you know, her little child had Down syndrome, and I did a story in That's Life magazine a few years ago. Yep. And she said that her mum had handed her this article, so she bought my book, she read the book, and she bought some of the Institute's books and started to do some of the exercises which are discussed in the books. And her little boy, who had some major vision problems, began to see.
Oh, wow.
So she read my book, she changed a few things. She read some of the Institute's books written by Glenn Doman, and she started to do some exercise. She got her child to see. This was before she'd even done the course. So she's telling you this when she's standing there about to do the course. And I'm thinking, I mean, that's just from reading something. So then when you go and sit there, immerse in this information, I mean, honestly, Griff, just to give you a really practical example of this. So I would take Griffin to an indoor play centre. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there's loads of noise and there's kids calling out and there's equipment and a lot of static, and what the Institute describes as auditory chaos manifests. So these children can't actually pull out one single sound like me calling his name.
It's very much like
to that.
It's very much like autism, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he would go to these indoor play centres and I'd call his name. I'd think he was ignoring me and then realise he just can't actually hear me.
Yeah.
So then we took Griff, when he was 4, we took him to the institutes for an assessment. You don't have to do that, but we chose to do that. And they gave us some exercises, incredibly simple exercises, brought him home, did the exercises for 2 weeks. I took him back to the same indoor play centre. And again, I called his name and he replied, turned around and looked me straight in the eye and replied.
Wow.
And that's not going to see an expensive psych who's got this, that and the other, you know, technique. It's just something simple you can do at home. So that's what these guys do. They've formulated.
You know, the amount of money I invested in my children trying to get them to do that. They do it now, but if I could have done it in my own home without all the transitional issues and without the anxiety and without jumping in the car and having to go to an appointment and do all that other stuff, and then to be able to, you know, to deliver that and,
wow.
Oh, my gosh.
It's so powerful.
It is, absolutely.
Wow.
And a lot of, sadly, a lot of these parents go into lockdown mode and they don't talk to people. They don't have time for Facebook, and so they're not out there banging the drum.
They don't know.
And there's more and more and more of them over here in Australia doing this work and getting amazing results. And there are some who have, you know, agreed to be interviewed on the Grow Foundation website. But yeah, a lot of them just don't have time to go public. So
no. That's
well,
true.
and it's a big thing. I struggled even coming to grips with the fact that Jo Whitten had invited me to come and co-host on her podcast, because that meant I had to speak my truth and that meant I had to share. And in those early years, it was like you keep your head down, you don't tell anyone what you're doing because you don't want to send up any red flags. And there were so many things about children, you know, being taken away from their families because of jobs, because of those, you know, those things and those stories that pop up on Facebook, those were the things that kept getting to me. Yeah. So it was like, and even when I speak about my doctor, I don't say who it is. I don't say where he is. I don't, you know, like I don't want to attract that to him if he doesn't need that extra hardship, or, you know, like I don't want to do any of that for him because I still am cautious with what I'm doing. And even when I speak, I'm cautious with what I'm saying. But we're so much further down our path now that, yeah, we can shout it and we can say we've done all that because we've, you know, in my mind, we've completed, you know, the hiding out stage. We're ready to blossom and we're ready to soar and share the message. So
you've got to go through that, I think. I was the same with Isaac. You know, with his diagnosis, I couldn't talk about it for months to anyone but very close friends.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you also, especially with a child, I mean, you know, I still wonder whether I've done the wrong thing by my son. And then...
Really?
Well, anytime you think that, you ring me and I will give you an absolute beating over how wrong you are and to pull your head out because that's stupid.
Only because if you Google Griffin and Down syndrome or Google Kristen Morrison, he's all over the place.
Oh, I see.
And, you know, my mum said this to me when I was publishing the book. She said, maybe you should change his name in the book.
But you know what? It's when you think of how that's helped so many people.
I know. And the thing is, as he gets older, I mean, every time the institutes are coming out, he's absolutely rubbing his hands together because he gets to show off again.
Yeah, exactly. He probably loves it.
Oh, bless him.
And he's so cute, guys.
He's the poster child. Oh,
he's so gorgeous. Last year he was up on the table doing an exercise to show parents how to do it.
Oh, give him his own Instagram and YouTube channel. He needs his own YouTube channel.
He will one day, but he's up on this table doing this exercise with these parents, and he turned around to one of them and said, "You're doing a really great job."
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, I love him. I just want to,
That's so cute.
He's pretty gorgeous.
Oh, I haven't got to meet him.
I don't really think I've done the wrong thing, but I just sort of wonder in my heart of hearts late at night sometimes, I think, what happens if he's 18 and hates me?
Oh,
no way.
I think it'll be such a big part of his life that it won't be a big issue. He's just used to that.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully.
It's done now.
Well, I mean, like with Isaac, I did give him the choice because he was older, and I said, do you want to talk about it? Do you want me to mention it? And I waited until he was ready. But right from the start, he was really saying, Mum, if it's going to help someone, talk about it. So I think, you know, because you're raising him that way, I'm sure that by the time he's old enough to think about it much, he'll be like, yeah, look at all the people we've helped, Mum. Don't be silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Awesome. Well, I think what we need to do also is get a blog post up on my blog so we can share this with lots of links and photos and things. That would be really good.
I've been very efficient. You know how I like to multitask and how
efficient.
I can't sit still. Actually, every time she said something, I went and Googled it, so I've cut and pasted already in there. So
I love you, Leah.
I know. Okay, so let me get this right. Okay. So I've got the Institute's website, I've got the Grow Foundation Kids website, I've got Naturally Better Kids, I've got a Facebook page, I've got Street Organics. Is there anything I've missed?
You're amazing. I suppose you've been unpacking the dishwasher while you've been speaking to us, have you?
I'm sure I heard something before. She was washing dishes.
No, I didn't do that today. No, because I can do that when it's just Jo and I have one voice to focus on, and because I know her so well, it's okay. But, there's another entity in the room. I need some of those exercises, some of those ones, the auditory processing exercises that we were just talking about.
I need some too.
It's funny, we've got to tell everyone this. We were talking before we started recording, we were talking about what we do while we podcast. So Leah unloads the dishwasher. I send messages to people, play with photos, and at the moment play with blue tack. We can't sit still.
No. I've even got a spinning wheel. So even when when I was studying, I'd be listening to my lecturer and doing my work, and I'd have the spinning wheel going at the same time, and it's just, I can't sit still. It's the fidgety thing.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, true. That's why we're so efficient and effective,
right.
See?
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Well, I think, have we got any other questions? Can you think of anything else, Leah? Shall we finish up? That's been an hour, so we should probably...
I suppose I just wanted to sort of point out for everyone that's even considering, everyone's saying that, it's too hard, I can't do it, they've done so much. It's just little steps. It's one thing at a time. It's not all in a big chunk. Yes. And it doesn't matter where you start, you can still make a difference and make a change, I think. So don't be overwhelmed and just get out there and start on Facebook.
I really love that story that you said about even 2 weeks of working on one little thing and the difference you saw. Yeah. So every little bit of thing that you work on really helps.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you do what you're capable of, and if you're capable of doing 4 things, when you sort of successfully implemented one and then adding something else, if you can't, you pull back to 3,
That's right.
And if you're not successful at it, don't take it on board as being your failure. No. Just take it on board as it wasn't the right therapy or it wasn't the right action for now, and put it back in the toolbox and come and revisit. Choose something that's smaller that you can achieve and be successful at that first.
Definitely.
That's right. I have to say one last thing though. I actually posted this on something on my Facebook about this, that, when Griffin was tiny and I realised that he was going to need a lot of help, I actually sat him down and I gave him a good talking to. Yeah. And I did this again. My mum actually just did this again, and I posted about the importance of actually telling what's happening, because if you don't tell your child that you don't want to say, listen, you've got this really big problem to freak them out, but if you say, listen, hon, you know how you struggle, do you think that you struggle a little bit with certain situations, and get there and say yes, they say yes. Well, they say, well, there is something we can do that can help you with that, and then you explain what it is that you might do that might be able to help them, and that way you enlist the child's willingness to go on this journey with you, because I know a lot of parents who kind of think, okay, today we're going to do blah, 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 and it becomes this sort of very dogmatic, robotic kind of thing, and then the kids start to feel like it's punitive, and they don't want to help, part of it. So it's so important that you give the child as much information as you think that they can cope with, and get them to help you.
Yeah. So get them to feel that it's their choice and it's an empowered thing for them. Yeah. They've got an option.
Absolutely, they've got an option, because imagine what it must feel like for a little child who's stuck in a body that's just not doing what they want it to do. The frustration. And sometimes, I met a little child recently who was very, very ill and immobile, and I met him at a party, and I looked into his eyes and I said hi, and I just sort of started talking to him like he was any other child, whereas everybody else had been kind of ignoring him because he was just lying in this pram looking at the ceiling. I was like, I can't do this. So I went over and spoke to this child, and he responded, because it was like someone actually knows that I'm in here.
Oh, darling. Yeah.
I know. And you look at some of these kids, anyway, sometimes it's very, very mild, sometimes very severe, but the point is just that the kid can agree to be helped.
Yes.
You know?
Well, I think that I believe in, heart intelligence and how if you're in a place of love, you can radiate that energy. And for these kids that struggle with communication and understanding their surroundings, I think they pick up on that and they're more sensitive to that. That energy that comes in and out. I was sitting in a doctor's office in Queensland with my mum, and there was a non-verbal child there who, the eyes were all over the place. I have no idea what her diagnosis was, but I was sitting there and I was in my happy place, and I just thought she was gorgeous because she had a tutu on, and I've got boys and all that other stuff. But she actually left her parents and came over and sat on my lap. Like, she didn't make eye contact. She just came and sat. And she sat there, and my mum went off to her appointment, and this child just sat there, and the parents went off to their appointment, and the child just sat there. And, I didn't look, I was sort of looking at her at the corner of my eye and, admiring her. And she got up and came and did that. And I tell you, I sat there and I cried. I cried because I had this appreciation across the room of what she was and where she was. Yeah. And she picked up on that. We had no other communication. We had nothing. But we were, it's. I think you're right. I think they do know. Yeah, they do know. You give them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Oh, girl.
That's a big sigh. I love doing this because all the emotion comes out.
Well, we'll have to get together in Melbourne sometime.
But aren't we lucky that we get to do what we love doing,
Oh, it's amazing.
I think about that all the time.
Me too. It's definitely amazing.
I love you guys. Group hug. And for anyone else that's listening out here, you're involved as well. You're automatically involved in the group hug. Okay, so I want you to feel it. 1, 2, 3. Feel the hug.
Oh, you guys are good fun. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kristin, for coming and talking to us about that. And to all of you who are listening, we will definitely be posting something on my blog about this because it's too amazing not to share, and I think we need to get the word out.
Thank you.
And so we'll get some any more info that you can dig up that you want us to add. Just send it my way, Kristin.
I will,
and we'll get that out there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Leah, too, and thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed it and that you're finding it encouraging and helpful, and that if you've got any questions, I think Kristin said she doesn't mind you sending her a message on her Facebook page. Is that what you said? Oh, your website.
Yeah,
send her an email.
Email is ideal.
Okay, email through Kristin's website, which is, do you want to say the address?
So it's naturallybetterkids.com.
Okay, that's easy. Very good.
Yeah.
And if you have any comments that you want to leave for us, you can leave them on our Facebook pages or on the website, thewellnesscouch.com/A Quirky Journey. And we'd love for you to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and also check out the other Wellness Couch podcasts. There's lots of them. And just keep working on those small changes little by little, and we'll be back to share more of our journeys with you next week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been a production of thewellnesscouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.